What's going on, everybody? It is Craig here at booth 513 at the Restorerz booth here for the 2025 Flow Expo presented by PHCC. I lost my voice because we were doing the giveaway, but right now we have a guest, and his name is Jamie Bolan. He is over at City Water Conservation. And Jamie, just talk to me a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, Craig. So we are helping insureds going through a loss figure out where their water leak is coming from, and we're just over here trying to figure out how we can expedite the claims process. Okay. We all know, right? Sometimes we all know what's causing the leak.
Yeah.
But sometimes that adjuster just needs that little bit of report, to kind of get the claim process moving forward. And we're helping to expedite that a little bit faster.
Nice. So I know that, I follow you guys on social, and if anybody's not there, our City Water Conservation, it's pretty easy to find them. You guys travel a lot. You cover a lot of territory, I notice.
We do. So currently we service all of California. We just launched our new expansion into Southern California.
Okay.
And the goal behind that was really not so much to say, okay, great, we're in Southern California, we're trying to service everything. It was mainly to just tell a lot of these carrier adjusters that we service the entire state.
Yeah.
Now, it was so much easier than just saying, hey, we here's a cutoff line of where our service area stops. It was so much easier to just say we service the entire state.
Yeah.
Now, the goal that we're trying to do is not so much, help or attain so much market share, but educate other plumbers in respect to, hey, look, so when you're going out on a loss, regardless whether it's for the carrier directly or even plumbers like you guys work with, is categorize the jobs properly in a way to help increase the likelihood that there would be coverage. Why? Because that helps you guys. And as you guys as partners, you're able to kind of navigate through that claims process a little easier.
And we do see a lot of times people, and I justifiably so, get upset because they're getting their claim denied or whatnot. So this, the service you guys are offering makes it to where the likelihood of that is even less, because you're giving the adjusters the information they're looking for to make it almost an ironclad style in whatchamacallit.
Yes, but one thing I want to clarify on is a lot of these adjusters, they are not hired to deny claims. These adjusters are hired to work the claim in a way, and if you can prove with your verbiage and with your documentation process that you can give them a leg to stand on when they present your report to the claims manager or so forth, that if they have the ability to find coverage, they're going to find it. It's not their money. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm great. First off, I'm grateful to be on the podcast, and I'm grateful to be able to share this information because they're not all bad. You and I both know there's some that are like, they're acting like it's their money, right? But if we can get these plumbers in general to write these cause and origin reports, that can make it a lot easier for the adjuster to say, you know what, I see where he's getting at with this. Yeah, go ahead, boom, coverage approved. It'd be so much more beneficial to the market in general and the homeowner to be able to get the claims process approved and moving forward.
So what would be one story that you would have in the sense of where you were called in because they could not find where the leak was, they couldn't find where any of the possible damage was coming from, and you were able to find that for them and made it where they were able to proceed with the job properly?
Great question, because I actually have one in particular off the top of my head where it's not that I couldn't find what was the cause of the loss, the new loss, if you will. And it was more of like the adjuster could not, their hands are tied.
Yeah.
So they have to rely on either your plumber or the leak detection company that they hire in order to get the verbiage or the report that they need to keep the claims process moving forward. We had a loss where the adjuster hired us out to pretty much figure out what the cause of the damage to the kitchen cabinet and the ensuing continuous wood flooring was, right? And you and I both know that that word continuous is not a word that the adjusters like to hear.
No.
And, right? However, what was happening was there was a ton of, we'll use the M word on this because it's a podcast, there was a ton of mold and just long-term damage going along the side of the inside of the cabinet, right? You and I both know it's very difficult to get something like that covered.
Yeah.
However, what I was able to find was there any time that they used the faucet, water would bypass the sprayer nozzle and shoot back into the shank of the faucet and drip down into the cabinet, right? Well, the mold or the long-term damage that was found on the side of the cabinet was actually because the seal on the kitchen countertop to the kitchen sink connection was already compromised. And what the elderly lady would do is when she would wash dishes, she would let them dry there, and that water would just seep down over time. What I was able to do in this particular case was I was able to determine that was an unrelated loss, right? The unrelated damage in comparison to the more short-term damage that was happening due to the failure of the sprayer nozzle, causing the ensuing damages to the continuous flooring and the cabinet. Because that damage overlapped a lot of this long-term damage, we were able to find them coverage. And keep in mind, we were hired directly by the adjuster because the adjuster is trying to find verbiage that can help these people out to get them coverage.
So in the end, really, if there's questions or anything, people are just like, what's going on exactly here? The plumber's having the issue. It's better off to bring in somebody like yourself because they will be able, no pun intended, be able to cement it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And it's all about the way that you document it, right? With the proper moisture meter, thermal cameras, very similar to the same tools that you guys use.
Yeah.
It's just I want to set almost like the foundation that when you guys show up to a loss, you guys are looking at what's wet. We're looking at what caused it to be wet.
Yeah.
So we don't need to document everything that's wet. We just need to be able to explain how this all got wet. And when you come across projects where there are situations where maybe there was a garbage disposal leak years ago and they didn't
rectify it.
They didn't rectify it, right? But then there was an additional loss that happened due to a dishwasher that encapsulated all that. A lot of these adjusters just need simple clarification on why there's long-term damage that was not rectified in the past versus why everything is wet. And so our job, at least the way that I train all of our technicians, is to look for the opportunity to help someone, even if it means you're spending a little extra time and asking those extra questions that say, hey, did you have an issue here before? And they, and our job is to just make sure that if they did, we document that and we let the adjuster decide how they want to move forward with that. But that also makes your guys' job a lot easier because then you say, well, hey, look, we had this a little bit more sudden of a loss happen, and this other loss the homeowner can attribute to XYZ 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, I can speak from experience. Anybody who's watching, I referred Jamie to a job a while back, and he was very diligent about it. Spent tons and tons of time.
That one had two.
Yeah,
that one had two.
On trying to find the issues because they didn't know where to look, and every plumber they called in couldn't find it. Now, yes, you could hire a plumber to come in for a leak here and there. Some are going to be good at it, but most, that's not their specialty. The one thing that Jamie and his company, they are specialized in leak detection. So that's one thing I would definitely stress. If you're looking for anybody in that type of field, you're baffled, you need to call a leak detection specialist. Otherwise, you're going to get somebody who's just going to take a guesstimate.
Absolutely, and the same goes with respect to rain related stuff. Now I know we don't get much rain here in beautiful Southern California, although we have had some in here in the last week. But we had one where we found a water intrusion, but then we also found that there was a dishwasher leak. Right now, our company does a very good job of trying to differentiate the two. Right. We do our best to see, all right, if it was a water intrusion related incident, what ensuing water damage from that water intrusion almost encapsulated the dishwasher related leak, to see if we can prevent the homeowner from trying to file a second claim. However, if a second source needs to be identified, generally the adjusters that do regular business with us do an awesome job, in my opinion, of trying to kind of keep things all related to one
the job. Yeah, it makes total sense. So, question I would have for you too is, I mean, obviously we're a restoration company, and you guys work in home services. What are some things that you like and dislike about working with restoration? Not us. I mean, it could be us, but restoration in general. What is something you dislike and some things you like?
Oh, that's a good question. So one of the things that I do like is the, believe it or not, the camaraderie. Okay. So we all know that well, what I enjoy is we're in an industry where you have to be almost a little unbiased in a sense, right? You're doing your assignment, but you also want to make sure that the insured is using a company that's going to take care of them, right? And so we almost have to work as a team to get that claims process moving forward, and we do our best to keep our results as unbiased as possible, regardless of where the lead came from. And the reason why we do that is because we are firm believers in calling it as it is. Yeah. Even if you referred us, we're not looking for any type of kickback or anything like that. We're looking to just make sure that we call it like it is, so that you guys can do your job, regardless of what the claim ends up resulting in, whether it's covered or not. And then at the same time, be able to give the homeowner an honest answer on what our findings are. Now, what my drawback, if you will, would be is I would love for, if restoration companies, if they did a better job of vetting whether or not this is a loss that should have a regular plumber refer to it, or a company like ours
more specific,
And the only reason why I say that is because most of these plumbers, if they ask the question of where's the water coming from, or does it only happen when there's rain, they're going to dismiss it very quickly. Whereas our company, we're trying to expedite that process regardless. And in fact, if it is rain related, we can help figure out where it's coming from, right? And that's what you guys want to try to solve, right? Yeah. So you guys kind of, even though you have this great relationship with many plumbers in the Southern California area and now Vegas, right? Even though you have these great relationships developing, I feel like where the crossroads can be, or where the roadblock can be, is with these water intrusions. And that's where our company comes in, and we want to help in general.
And it makes it easier for us on the claims process, because that way, when we go to bat, when we're fighting with the adjusters or fighting with insurance on anything, we have proof from many different angles.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we have pretty much templated reports where our technicians are trained to take photos a certain way and do our absolute best to almost paint that picture for that adjuster. Because another thing we gotta cover is the fact that some of these adjusters, they will never even walk on site, right? Some of these guys are in the Midwest.
Yeah, and they're just using, literally, sometimes they'll use drones, for God's sakes. I've heard about drone usage.
Checking for roof-related stuff.
Yeah.
And so our company prides itself on doing great, almost like a picture book of what the source of the leak is and where it's coming from, in order for us to create an easier or less abrasion when it comes to getting certain things covered on your guys' end.
Like with a fine-tooth comb, just giving it every... No, and it makes sense. Because that way you're not sitting there just guesstimating. You know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Right.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it. Everybody, that's Jamie Bolan again over at City Water Conservation. everywhere in SoCal, everywhere in NoCal, everywhere in Central Cal. Him and his guys will go to you and they will find whatever leak. And I could go deeper if I wanted to use a different voice right now. But anyway, that's what we got right here. Thank you, Jamie. Again,
Appreciate
it was a
you
pleasure.
having me on the show, brother.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself, and we'll be back maybe with somebody else. I got no clue. I got no voice anymore. All right.
All right, awesome.